Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into the life of someone who really embodies one of Hollywood's most fascinating contradictions, Edward James Begley Jr.
hmm Ed Begley Jr. If you watch movies or TV, you absolutely know his face. He's been in, well, hundreds of things since the late 60s. Just a constant presence.
Right, the definition of a character actor. You see him, you know him.
Yeah.
But the focus of our deep dive today is looking at how that incredibly public profile.
The actor profile, yeah. The guy playing doctors, nervous lawyers, the brilliant mockumentary stuff.
How that sits right alongside this completely different private life, a life dedicated for decades to some really hardcore environmental activism.
And when we say hardcore, we mean it. It's a level of commitment that's almost become legendary, sometimes even a bit of a running joke, you know?
Exactly. So we've got this comprehensive biographical overview, a lot of career details, and our job today is to really distill that, compare the Hollywood persona with this, frankly, pioneering sustainability effort.
Yeah, we want to give you a much more nuanced picture of the man. We're digging into the details, the surprising stuff, the long-haul commitments that really defined him.
Like, how does the guy who gets nominated for 6 Emmys in a row for a show like St. Elsewhere
A huge critical success.
also become arguably more famous for having, like, a special bicycle just to make toast?
Right. It's that contrast. That's the hook.
It really sets up this tension. How do you navigate the, let's be honest, often wasteful world of Hollywood
High energy consumption, lots of travel.
while living this incredibly disciplined, low impact, sometimes even self-mocking green lifestyle? That's the puzzle we're exploring. And let's start where it all began. Okay, so Ed Begley Jr., born 1949, Los Angeles. His dad, Ed Begley Sr., the Oscar-winning actor. Sounds like a classic Hollywood story, right? Born into the business.
It does on the surface,
Yeah.
but you dig just a little bit into the sources and his early life. Wow. It gets really complex really fast and actually pretty dramatic.
Yeah, talk about family complexity. The sources are clear. When Ed Jr. was born to his biological mother, Aline Jean Sanders.
His father, Ed Begley Sr., was actually still married to someone else, a woman named Amanda Huff.
So right from birth, he's kind of caught in this hidden situation.
And this wasn't just some footnote. It massively shaped his childhood. Amanda Huff, his father's wife, was the woman he grew up believing was his mother.
Imagine that. And then, tragically, she dies of cancer when he's only 7. A huge loss for a young kid.
A massive loss. But then the story gets even more complicated. He still didn't know the truth. The sources say he believed Amanda Huff was his biological mother until he was 16.
16? That's well into your formative years.
Exactly. Only then, after believing this his whole life, did he learn the truth and eventually meet his birth mother, Aline.
Wow. That's a heavy thing to process as a teenager. Finding out your whole understanding of your family, your origins, wasn't accurate.
It really is. You have to wonder what that does to your sense of identity, your sense of trust. It suggests he needed some serious resilience right from the start.
Maybe, and this is just speculation, but maybe that early experience with secrets is part of why his later environmentalism was so transparent, so public.
That's an interesting thought, like a reaction almost.
Yeah.
Needing everything out in the open after a childhood that wasn't? It's plausible.
So alongside this family drama, his childhood also involved moving around quite a bit following his father's acting work.
Right. He spent a good chunk of his early years, K through 7th grade, out in Merrick, New York. Attended a private Catholic school there, Cure of Ours.
Why New York?
His dad was doing Broadway at the time, so you get this East Coast structured Catholic school upbringing for a while.
Which must have been a real contrast when they moved back.
Totally. Around age 13, they head back to California. He ends up graduating from Van Nuys High School in '67, then goes to Los Angeles Valley College. So, that shift from structured East Coast to the more laid-back San Fernando Valley vibe,
Right.
he had to be adaptable.
Definitely. And in the midst of all this adapting, figuring things out, launching his career, something truly terrifying happens. The sources mention this 1972 incident.
Yeah, this is really jarring and needs highlighting. According to the New York Times, in 1972, Begley Jr. was mugged. But this wasn't just a simple mugging.
No. He was attacked by a street gang, reportedly, like 25 youths, and he was stabbed multiple times.
It sounds absolutely horrific, a near-death experience, basically.
Yeah.
Surviving something that violent, that random in your early 20s, It must change your whole outlook, your sense of safety, the value of life itself.
Does the material explicitly link that trauma to his environmentalism? Like, did it spark that commitment?
Not directly, no. Sources are clear. His environmental actions started around 1970, so before the stabbing in 72. But
You have to think.
surviving something like that, it could absolutely intensify your convictions.
How so?
Well, it gives you this visceral understanding of fragility, right?
Yes.
Maybe it reinforces a feeling that life is precious, resources are precious, and you shouldn't waste any of it. Whether it's time or, planetary health, it grounds you in a really harsh reality, maybe pushes you away from Hollywood superficiality.
That makes sense. A profound reality check.
Yeah.
So he recovers, he pushes through, and he starts building that acting resume in the 70s.
Yep. And you see that adaptability again. Guest spots everywhere. Maude, Room 222, even My Three Sons.
Yeah.
Plus recurring stuff like on Mary Hartman, which was pretty out there for its time.
He's putting in the work, learning the ropes of television.
Absolutely. And here's a fun little piece of trivia the sources mention.
Yeah.
For a short time, he had an improv act with Michael Richards.
The Michael Richards?
Yeah.
Correct.
The very same, long before Seinfeld, obviously. But it shows Begley was right there in that L.A. comedy scene, developing those timing and character skills. You can kind of see how that might feed into his later work, especially the mockumentaries.
Mm.
And all that varied experience in the 70s doing comedy, drama, guest spots, it really set the stage perfectly for the role that became his anchor, the one that gave him real stability and made him a household name, basically.
You're talking about St. Elsewhere, Dr. Victor Ehrlich.
Exactly. That show was huge for him. It ran from 82 to 88. That's 6 seasons, 137 episodes. A really solid long-term gig.
And it wasn't just steady work, it was acclaimed work. The sources highlight this amazing streak, 6 consecutive primetime Emmy nominations for Best Supporting Actor, 6 years in a row, plus a Golden Globe nomination.
That consistency is incredible. It tells you he wasn't just lucky, he was delivering a high-quality performance year after year.
We should probably remind people, St. Elsewhere, it wasn't like a massive #1 ratings hit, was it?
No, not at all. It often struggled in the ratings, actually.
Yeah.
But it was a huge critical favorite. Loved by critics, respected intensely within the industry, which in a way might have been perfect for Begley.
How so?
Well, it gave him that 6 years of stable, respected work without the kind of overwhelming, maybe destructive level of fame that comes with being on a monster hit show. It offered stability.
Yeah.
And combined with his famously frugal lifestyle.
Right, the environmentalism kicking in.
It probably gave him significant financial freedom and career flexibility later on. He wasn't trapped.
And that flexibility shows if you track his career after St. Elsewhere. He becomes this go-to guy for memorable, recurring roles. His range is pretty impressive.
It really is. You can almost group his modern roles. You've got the serious professional types, like Dr. Linkletter on Young Sheldon,
Sheldon's kind of prickly colleague, yeah.
or Clifford Maine on Better Call Saul. The senior partner, very buttoned up, very respected. That serious drama side.
Then he can flip completely. He does the eccentric rich guy brilliantly. Stan Sitwell in Arrested Development is just classic.
Oh, totally. The ongoing rivalry with the Bluths. Perfect deadpan comedy.
And then there's the genre stuff, too. He was Green Bean, a Viper pilot, way back on the original Battlestar Galactica. He played a senator on The West Wing. He pops up in 6 Feet Under, Veronica Mars.
He's just reliable.
Mhm.
He brings this Pacific energy, intelligent, maybe a little anxious, but always grounded. A true chameleon, but you always know it's him.
But this professional success story connects back to something really personal the sources emphasize, the importance of mentorship in his life.
Yes, this is key. He's been very open about how older veteran actors really guided him, not just in acting, but in how to approach life in a long career.
The big one is William Daniels, right? Dr. Craig on St. Elsewhere. Their on-screen chemistry was legendary.
That famous Mutt and Jeff dynamic, yeah. Daniels' character always yelling up at the much taller Begley. Begley gives Daniels enormous credit, both for their on-screen success and as a mentor figure. He admired Daniels' work in classics like The Graduate, Parallax View.
And there's a really touching detail he shared. He said Daniels was like a far more nurturing father figure than his own dad, Ed Begley Jr.
Think about that. Having that kind of steady, supportive figure during those intense years making a network show, especially given his complex childhood history, that must have been incredibly important for his own stability.
And speaking of stability and long careers, we absolutely have to talk about Norman Lloyd.
Oh, yes. Norman Lloyd. A legend. Begley met him even before St. Elsewhere when Lloyd directed him in an episode of Tales of the Unexpected. Their friendship spanned decades.
And Lloyd became more than just a friend. He became a philosophical guidepost for Begley.
This is one of the most revealing things in the source material, I think. Begley talks about how, in his 30s, his whole idea of a role model changed. He stopped looking up to these live fast, die young creative types.
The James Deans, the Janis Joplins, that kind of archetype.
Exactly. The brief spurt of creativity followed by tragedy. Instead, he started admiring people like Norman Lloyd.
Who lived to be over 100, right? And was working almost right up to the end.
Precisely. Lloyd represented someone who had a long, happy life and continued to be creative. Went the distance.
That shift in perspective, it feels crucial. It connects everything.
It absolutely does. Because that philosophy valuing longevity, stability, sustained creativity over flashy bursts, it perfectly mirrors the core principles of his environmentalism. It's all about long-term health, sustainability for the planet and for oneself.
He wasn't aiming for the supernova.
He was aiming for the steady, long-burning star. And that philosophy really shines through when you look at his environmental work.
Okay, so let's really dig into this eco-activist side. Because the key thing here, as the sources stress, is when he started. This wasn't a late-in-life passion project.
Not at all. We're talking 1970. That's the year of the very first Earth Day. And Begley wasn't just, reading about it. He was doing things.
Like what? What were the first steps?
He started recycling seriously. He became a vegan. And maybe most notably for the time, he got his first electric vehicle.
Which wasn't exactly a Tesla back then.
Huh? No, definitely not. The sources specify it was a tailor-done think, like an electric golf cart, basically a small utility vehicle.
Okay, picturing someone driving a golf cart around Los Angeles in 1970. That's commitment.
Yeah.
What does that tell you?
It tells you this was driven by pure conviction, not image. It must have been incredibly impractical, probably looked pretty strange. But he was willing to sacrifice convenience, comfort, probably face some ridicule, because he believed in cutting his footprint, decades before it was remotely cool.
And that conviction just grew and grew, manifesting most famously in his house, his former home.
Ah, yes, the legendary house, which by Hollywood standards was tiny, like under 1,600 square feet.
Yeah.
And it was basically his personal laboratory for sustainable living.
Pushing the boundaries of what was possible then. Solar power, obviously.
Of course, solar. But he went further. He had wind power, too, in a suburban setting, which is tricky. Specifically, a pack-wind vertical axis wind turbine.
Okay, break that down. Why vertical axis? What's the significance?
Well, most wind turbines you picture are horizontal axis, like propellers. Vertical axis ones can capture wind from any direction, which can be better in places with turbulent or shifting winds, like, a neighborhood. It shows he was really researching, experimenting with advanced, maybe less common technologies. He was deep in the weeds on this stuff.
He wasn't just sticking a panel on the roof and calling it a day.
Not at all. This was serious R&D on a personal scale.
And did it work? Did it actually save energy?
Did it ever? The sources quote him, stating in 2008 that his annual electricity bill was around $300.
Wait, $300 for the year?
For the entire year. In Southern California, just think about your own electric bill for 1 month. It's an astonishingly low number. Proof positive that his methods were effective, not just symbolic, and financially smart, too.
Which brings us to the most iconic symbol of that house. The toast bicycle.
The toast bicycle is just perfect, isn't it?
It really is. He had a stationary bike hooked up to generate electricity, specifically to power his toaster.
It's the ultimate piece of performance art meets environmentalism. The solar and wind stuff is serious tech, but the bike, that's something everyone gets instantly. It's kind of funny, a little absurd, but it makes you see the energy cost of something simple like making toast.
He's making the invisible visible, and he's willing to look a bit eccentric doing it.
Totally. He let himself be the punchline to make a larger point about consumption. Brilliant, really.
And his commitment wasn't just energy. Water, too. Huge issue in LA.
Massive. He ripped out the traditional thirsty lawn, which is just unsustainable in Southern California, and replaced it entirely with drought-tolerant native California plants. Again, practical, ecological, and ahead of the curve for many homeowners.
The dedication extended to how he got around, too.
Oh, yeah. Famous for riding his bike everywhere, using public transport. And he had that early electric car, the 2003 Toyota RAV4 EV. Again, not a flashy luxury EV, but an early practical effort.
And this isn't just past history. The sources note he took public transportation to the Academy Awards, not once, but in 2023 and 2024.
I mean, think about the Oscars, the limos, the traffic, the whole massive footprint.
Yeah.
And there's Ed Begley Jr. presumably waiting for the bus or subway. It's just consistently walking the walk.
That level of commitment naturally gave him a platform. He started using media to spread the message.
Right. Which led to the reality show, Living with Ed. Ran from 2007 to 2010. And crucially, he did it with his wife, Rochelle Carson.
Why was her involvement so important?
Because it grounded the whole thing. It wasn't just Ed preaching from his eco-fortress. It showed the negotiation, the day-to-day reality of trying to live this incredibly green life when your partner, maybe, doesn't always want to use a solar oven.
Right. It showed the friction, the compromise, made it relatable, funny even.
Exactly. It showed that this stuff is hard. It requires constant effort and communication.
Then he took it even further with the web series on Begley Street in 2013.
Yeah, this was next level. It documented taking down his old famous house, but doing it via deconstruction, not demolition, to reuse materials, and then building what they aimed to be North America's greenest, most sustainable home.
Deconstruction versus demolition. That shows intense commitment to minimizing waste. He's constantly raising the bar for himself.
Always. And he put it in writing, too.
Good.
Authored books like Living, like Ed, and Guide to Sustainable Living. Even got specific with a vegan survival guide for the holidays. He's genuinely trying to share what he's learned, make it accessible.
His public image as Mr. Green is so strong, it even became part of this friendly rivalry, right?
Yeah. With Bill Nye, the science guy, they have this ongoing public competition about who has the smaller carbon footprint. It's a fun way to keep the conversation going, keep themselves accountable.
And beyond the personal stuff, he got formally involved with lots of environmental groups.
Oh, absolutely. Coalition for Clean Air, Environmental Media Association, Tree People, Orangutan Republic Foundation. The list goes on. He wasn't just lending his name, he was involved.
Which earned him real recognition outside of acting, too, like that Thomas Alva Edison Award in 2007.
Right, for energy independence. That's a serious nod to his actual contributions in the sustainability field, completely separate from his Hollywood career.
Okay, so let's talk about how these two worlds, the actor and the activist, kind of collide and merge, especially through comedy.
This is where it gets really interesting. His skill as an actor is perfect for certain kinds of commentary, particularly mockumentaries.
He's a regular in the Christopher Guest films, right, with Eugene Levy?
Yes. Best in show, A Mighty Wind. For your consideration, Mascots. He slots into that ensemble so perfectly.
What makes him so good in those?
He brings this utter sincerity, this slightly anxious, earnest quality to the most ridiculous situations. He plays it completely straight, which makes the absurdity even funnier. Remember that improv background with Michael Richards, that timing, that commitment to character? It pays off hugely there.
But what's maybe even more brilliant is how he uses his own public image, his eco-warrior reputation, as material. He's incredibly self-aware.
Oh, completely. He knows people see him as this, slightly eccentric green guy, and he leans right into it, often making fun of himself.
The best examples have to be the Simpsons appearances. They just nail it.
They're perfect. In Homer to the Max, they show him driving this little non-polluting go-kart. Powered by what?
His own sense of self-satisfaction is hilarious. Such a sharp little jab at potential eco-smugness.
It's genius. But maybe even better is the joke in Gone Maggie Gone. His solar-powered car stalls on train tracks because of an eclipse. Looks like curtains for Ed.
Uh-oh.
But then the oncoming train also stops. Because naturally it's the Ed Begley Jr. solar-powered train.
That's fantastic. It's like his environmentalism is so pervasive it bends reality. It's poking fun at his ubiquity in that space.
Exactly. It's affectionate but sharp satire, and he's clearly in on the joke.
So while he's doing all this acting, activism, even self-parody, he's also contributing behind the scenes in Hollywood.
Right. The sources note he served on the board of governors for the Academy, the Oscars people for a long time, from 2000 to 2016.
16 years. That's a serious institutional commitment to the industry itself.
Definitely. And his activism wasn't limited just to environmental causes. There's a political dimension, too, which the sources cover, and we should report on neutrally here.
Okay. What's that about?
He was involved with a group called 2004 Racism Watch, who was co-founded with another actor, Ed Asner.
What was their focus?
Their specific aim, according to the sources, was to respond to a 2004 political ad from the George W. Bush-Dick Cheney campaign. The ad was called 100 Days. And the group's claim, their position, was that this ad encouraged racism. How? By linking terrorism with a photo of an unidentified man who appeared to be of Middle Eastern descent. That was their argument.
And Begley's role.
He served on the advisory committee for 2004 Racism Watch. So it shows him engaging directly with political discourse, with social issues, taking on a formal advisory role in response to something he saw as problematic.
Interesting. It broadens the picture beyond just environmentalism.
It does. It shows a wider concern with systems, fairness, how messages are conveyed.
Finally, just for context on his more recent life, the sources mention a personal health challenge.
Yes. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease back in 2016, which is obviously a serious diagnosis. But importantly, his career, his activism, it's all continued. He's remained incredibly active, which really speaks to that whole philosophy of perseverance and longevity we talked about earlier. So if we try to pull all these threads together for you, what does the life of Ed Begley Jr. show us? I think it's this masterclass in managing duality.
Yeah, you've got this incredibly long, successful career over 50 years now in Hollywood, which is notoriously unstable.
Right. While at the same time maintaining this radically consistent, deeply principled commitment to environmentalism that started way back in 1970.
And those two sides aren't always separate. We see overlaps, like his interest in systems. He played David Boies in Recount, the film about the 2000 election mess.
Diving deep into the mechanics of democracy there.
And then he's advising 2004 Racism Watch, engaging with political messaging. It shows this underlying interest in how things work, whether it's the planet's climate or the country's politics.
And it all circles back, I think, to that shift in thinking he described, moving away from idolizing the flash in the pan.
The brief spurt of creativity.
Towards valuing those who went the distance, like Norman Lloyd. People who sustained their creativity over a long, productive, maybe even happy life. He shows sustainability in every sense as his model.
Which leads us to a final thought for you to consider, something that connects his lifestyle directly to his career longevity.
Think about it. Living the way Begley does, the hyper-efficiency, the low consumption, it dramatically lowers your cost of living. Remember that $300 annual electric bill?
Right. If your basic needs cost very little, you're under much less financial pressure. You don't need to take every single high-paying gig that comes along just to keep the lights on, literally.
So here's the question. Could it be that his radical environmental discipline, his frugality, wasn't a hindrance to his long-acting career, but actually one of the key things that enabled it?
Because it gave him freedom, stability, peace of mind.
Exactly. Maybe living sustainably isn't just good for the planet. Maybe it's a strategy for building a more stable, resilient, and creatively fulfilling life and career in any field. Something worth thinking about.
Definitely something to chew on. That's our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us.